The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply. USAA.
Business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on turbotax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
Welcome to 4.0 to Pro, the pickleball podcast that focuses on a single shot, tip, or strategy to improve your pickleball game with every single pocket-sized episode. Our goal is to make you better on the court every time you hear our voices.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 4.0 to Pro, your pocket-sized pickleball podcast where we teach you a single shot or strategy every single episode. I'm Michael O'Neill here in sunny Long Beach, California, joined by one Mircea Marariu there in probably sunny Boca Raton, Florida. What's up, dude?
How are you doing, my friend? Good to be here. And it is a little sunny, a little windy, and it's really cranked up in terms of heat and humidity down here. We had a nice stretch of weather, and then over the last several days, it's gotten quite a bit toastier, which people coming down to play the APP Fort Lauderdale have noticed, and it's an abrupt change for many people.
Yeah, make sure you hydrate and warm up ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I played the windiest day of my pickleball career the other day on Tuesday night. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Literally the only reason I think we all didn't just go, all right, we're going to bag this, is because when it's windy at a tournament, you play. Generally, right? You have to adapt somehow. And really interesting how the court, it was in one direction. So you would go and hit towards the center line. And by the time the ball landed, it was 4 feet towards the sideline. It was really windy.
I played a tournament one time in Punta Gorda. It was like the second time I played there. And I kid you not, the most important factor in deciding the winner of each match was the choice of one or two.
Wow.
Who picked the end.
Right.
So if you ended on the end when you were with the wind, like you could literally touch the ball as softly as you possibly could, make contact, and it would just go 10 feet out. It was
just
insane.
Sail. So you wanted to be against the wind, so you could just hit it as hard as you wanted to.
Yeah. And I usually like to end against the wind in the hypothetical scenario that we go 3 games. And the last 6 points, I want to be against the wind. And I typically pick that anyway. But this was the way over the top version of that strategy.
Guess what, Mircea? We're more than halfway sold out for the camp right there in your neck of the woods there at the fort in Fort Lauderdale. We have sold 3 of the 4 VIP slots. And we've sold, I want to say 11 of the regular camper spots. So if you guys would like to join us, we would love for you to join us the last weekend of May at the premier pickleball facility in the country, which is called The Fort in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And that is 402p.com/camp. I will say unequivocally that if you're thinking about where should we take a vacation this year, this would be a killer vacation because you get a lot of pickle in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday if you want to, because you're right there at the Fort. And then you got a couple days right around in Florida. You get to enjoy yourself. To me, it sounds like a great way to spend a few days, Mircea.
It's going to be awesome. And I really am not typically prone to hyperbole, but in this scenario, I have yet to meet a person that hasn't been blown away when they check out the Fort in terms of pickleball facilities. It's really something special. I'm looking forward to playing there this weekend.
402p.com/camp. In fact, if you follow Mircea, which is Brains Doc on Instagram, I am Solo Hour, and then the show itself is 4.0 to Pro. I'm sure you will be posting some pictures and they will be able to see a little bit about how cool the Fort is.
Yes, sir. Randomly, I went to a person's house that was about 20 miles west of this facility. So it was way out west of Lauderdale, and we were playing, and something happened I'd never seen on the pickleball court before. I was playing mixed doubles, and we're playing a point, and all of a sudden I hear Pam, our opponent, say, "I can't," and she's backing up. and finish the point real quick. And we're like, what happened? I thought she got hurt. I was really concerned. So she could hardly speak. She just points snake of the court right by the net. And she couldn't play the point. So myself and Brad, the owner of the house, which is an amazing house. That's the one I posted on Instagram. And it's a pretty rural area. It was like a jungle out there. And we literally had a snake on the court that I've never seen before. So that was interesting. I had to move the little guy off. He didn't want to get off. He wanted to stay on. Who knew snakes love pickleball?
Snakes and bees. Do you guys have the same thing with bees being attracted to the courts as we do?
Yeah, we do. Not as much as
it's crazy.
I've experienced in California. But anyway.
Okay, guys, let's talk about fifth shots. We've served, we've returned, we've done fourths, we've done thirds, and this is the fifth shot show. And I think a really good way to frame this, Mircea, is this is part 2 of the third shot show, right? This is a combo with the third shot versus its own entity, because when we hit our third, I mean, hopefully we hit an amazing drop and it's like the perfect drop that drops right in the kitchen. They can't attack it. But very often these days, people are hitting a third shot drive and looking for a fifth shot drop because it's shorter.
Absolutely. And we're basically piggybacking on the last show we did, which was the transition zone. This dovetails nicely into the last show topic. It's so important that we realize that we've served, we hit a third, and we're still down in the point, presumably because we are in a position to hit a fifth shot, most likely in the transition zone or possibly at the baseline. In a really great scenario, we're a little bit further up, like in the upper half of the transition zone, closer to the net. But the first thing we have to do is analyze what kind of fourth we're getting back.
This particular part of pickleball, I would argue, requires the most processing of any other part of pickleball, because you have a lot of things to choose based on what happens with that third. So the third is in the air and you've got to go, okay, is the third that's in the air something they're about to attack? Or is it a good enough ball where we can advance? So that's kind of choice A. Like this is the red, yellow, green analogy that we always give, right?
Exactly. If we're hitting the third shot, if we hit a high one, it's red because the opponents have the ball, say, shoulder high or higher. If it's green, they have it relatively low at their knees or it's bouncing in the kitchen, and the yellow is somewhere in between. We've hit it, hopefully a decent third shot. So the first analysis is what kind of third shot did we hit and what kind of fourth are we getting back? I will take my cue from you if you're hitting the third shot, and hopefully you will take the cue from me if I'm hitting the third shot, or if we communicated early enough and either one of us get a really short third, we've communicated about where we're hitting the ball so we can anticipate the fifth much better.
Yeah, this is most often when you hear watch, like if somebody hits a third that they're not completely psyched about, it's a little high, it's maybe attackable on the other side, they might say watch, which means batten down the hatches. This is not going to be an amazing third that we can collapse on. We have to get down into that volleyball dig defensive position because the ball's probably coming back hot. And we may even have to consider retreating a little if it's particularly high.
Possibly. Ideally, you don't want to retreat that much, but even if you're retreating, and we've talked about this in the defensive aspect of the show when we were talking about volleys, even if you do retreat, do not keep retreating and do not keep moving as your opponents are hitting the ball. So even if you're going to retreat, stop, split step, stable base, athletic posture, and have a neutral or forward leaning torso position so you are ready to either reset or potentially counter. And you mentioned about the decision making. So when you're in the transition zone and you're looking for your fifth, these are the decisions you have to make. Are my opponent's shot going in or out? Am I hitting a backhand or a forehand? Am I hitting a reset or a counter? Am I tacking? Am I hitting it cross court or straight ahead? Am I hitting a forehand or backhand to my opponents? So which wing am I hitting to my opponent? So those are all the decisions you have to make. So it's really critically important to maintain that stillness, not only when you're about to hit the shot, but also as you're hitting the shot, so you're not moving forward through it.
Yeah, this really sets up your entire point. And I think that having these discussions beforehand, which is being able to identify what the weaker wing is or what the weaker spot, what your safe zones are on your side, that's why it's so important to have these conversations before you start the point. That's because it's all happening so fast once you're in it. I think, though, with the exception of a ball that might get sent back shoulder high that you can just rip and all of a sudden you're on a major offensive battle, our real goal with this fifth shot is to hit a non-attackable ball that gets us to the non-volley zone. Like
absolutely.
Full stop.
Yep. Because we talk about up, down or neutral in the point, and you have to recognize where you are in the point. So we're obviously down in the point, most likely. The only scenario you mentioned is if one of us hits a great third and we're basically shaking and baking, or you hit a great third drop and someone is hitting the ball high and you're poaching. So let's go through the scenarios. So in the first one, you or I have hit a red type ball to our opponent. So that's shoulder high or higher. So that's the fourth that they're going to hit. So we are most likely back and defending. So we're still down in the point. So our fifth is going to be more reactionary. And we talk about, where do you want to hit your fifth? Do you want to hit it cross court middle, straight ahead? Ideally, number one, we pick the weaker spots or the safer spots on the other side of the net. So if it's someone's backhand, ideally, that's where we're going. But when you're down in the point and you're scrambling, defending, and someone's crushing the ball at your feet, you're really trying to hit either a half volley reset or a low volley reset. And I just try to hit that really just over the net. So my first goal is to get it into the kitchen or get it to a yellow zone so we can continue to defend rather than popping it up. So for me, I'm not thinking too much about, am I going to deflect this half volley cross court to the guy's backhand on the other side? I'm really just trying to react and get the ball in the kitchen. That should be your primary goal rather than too much directionality. When you're scrambling, you just want to get back into the point.
You're in pure survival mode.
Exactly.
So just in case you guys are confused about being up or down in the point, by definition, when you serve, you are essentially down in the point. You have to figure out a way to get to the non-volley zone to neutralize the point. And at some point, if you are able to strategically dink them or whatever, move them out of where they want to be, you then are up in the point. But as we are scrambling for that third and that fifth, we are down in the point and we are trying to get back to neutral as much as we can.
Excellent point. A slight segue, but today I was watching a professional match at the PPA. It was Deckel Barr and Rachel Rohrbacher against Hayden Patrick and Kate Fahey. Deckel and Rachel are up 10-5 in the third, 10-5-2. Hayden and Kate take a timeout. So you're up 10-5 on a 2. What do you want to do, Michael, with your third?
Get it in.
Exactly. You want to make it.
You want to make it. Yeah.
Deckel, unfortunately, hits it into the net. Kate and Hayden get the ball back, get back to 10-all. Again, Deckel and Rachel get the side out. A missed third, a missed fifth. Kate and Hayden get the ball back, and guess who wins?
Yeah.
Kate and Hayden. Because Kate and Hayden made the balls to get up to the kitchen. Even at the highest level, you're not going to win many matches by ripping balls from the midcourt 12 feet behind the kitchen line. You're going to win some points. You might win some games. You may win an occasional match, but you're not going to win matches consistently or tournaments until you get up to the non-volley zone.
I'll tell you, if the only thing someone worked on was, we said the last episode, if all you did is just worked on your split step one day and just being stable when you hit the ball, you'd magically watch how much more points you'd win and how many less mistakes you'd make. I would argue that just getting that third in, or in this case, the third combo fifth, typically third shot drive, fifth shot drop, or third shot drop, see where you are, fifth shot drop, see where you are, seventh shot drop, see where you are. That's the kind of thing that can happen. Man, the amount of consistency and games you can win by giving yourself a little bit of margin. Stop trying to drop these thirds 2 inches above the net and give yourself a little grace. Give yourself a little space, because even the pros don't. You watch their thirds and they are very often way higher. I see thirds, but it could be fifths, and their drops way higher and more margin than most of the people I play with.
Yeah, again, generally speaking, but in this particular context I'm talking about, the missed thirds and fifths were in the net. So there's just no hope of getting your opponent to make an error. And it's just a lot harder to hit a perfect third in the kitchen at 10-all in the third game. Yes, you want it to go to a safe spot, but bottom line, don't try to make it perfect.
So I'm very excited, Mircea. One of the things that we notice very often in pickleball, and we're all guilty of this, we show up to the courts, there's 3 of your friends already playing, you got a couple more on the way, Bob is unloading his car from the parking lot, and instead of taking a few minutes to really stretch and warm your body up, you jump right on the court, you dink a few times, and someone goes, "Hey, are you ready?" And you're not, but you say you are, because it's the weird peer pressure of pickleball. And that scenario accounts for so many injuries that happen on the pickleball courts. Many of us are 40 plus, 50 plus that play this game. We do not have the elasticity that we used to. We cannot just recover from, it's almost you have a couple glasses of wine one day. Man, that recovery isn't as good as it used to be. And when you are doing these dynamic movements of pickleball and you don't properly warm your body up, you can get injured. And obviously, we've seen these statistics on injuries for pickleball. Yobo is a fantastic company that makes a product, and they make a multiple product, but they have a specific product called the Backpack Plus, which has everything you need to warm your body up to play pickleball. I know, Mircea, you've been a huge fan of their percussion gun. You've used that thing for quite some time now, and you even use it in the car and get your body warm before you even get to the courts.
Yep. Before, after, during, I use it almost constantly, especially on tournament days, but even on rec play. Definitely use it all the time.
Well, guys, skipping a proper warm-up leads to injuries. It leads to decreased performance. If I don't warm up, especially getting my knees a little blood flow, I do not play well, especially for that first game. And I always feel bad for my first partner. If I don't get a good warm up, I go, I'm so sorry. This is not going to go well for any of us. The kit has everything you need to warm up, including the percussion gun. It's got this ball, this kind of centrifugal force ball that warms your forearms up, which is really cool. It's got these resistant bands. It's got wedges where you can stretch your calves, just everything in one spot. You can take 5 to 10 minutes to warm your body up before you get on the court, and you will play better. You can get this very kit, the Backpack Plus, at 402p.com/warmup. 402p.com/warmup gets you 10% off at theyobo.com. But you don't have to do that. You just have to go to 402p.com/warmup. That'll take you right where you need to be. Thank you to Yobo for sponsoring this episode. And Mircea, let's say that we've hit our third and they've given us a decent fourth back. And now we've got a fifth that we can actually do something with. It feels like we're in control. We're stable. Now we can start executing the plan that we talked about before we even hit the first ball.
Exactly. We've talked about targets before, and this is where the importance of communication and recognition come in. You've hopefully recognized that there is a safe or weaker wing of at least one of your opponents that you can drop comfortably to, or you can just pick a specific spot that you are really comfortable hitting a fifth. For example, myself, when I'm on the right side, I love dropping that fifth. I target really the midline, because what I want to do is, since I'm hitting it in a little bit of an angle and I'm targeting that center strap, and that will hopefully get the ball to my right side opponent, that person's left foot. And if the left side opponent wants to go grab it, they have to come all the way over and intrude on the right side player's space. This effectively shrinks the court for us. It limits their angles, and it allows us to more easily advance. And since I'm dropping that ball, we're going to have some time for either myself to move up after I've hit the drop, or my partner, they can advance knowing that I'm going to hit this shot hopefully consistently.
Yeah, I was just about to say that if you're playing against somebody across from you on the left side that's got a good poach or a long reach, and you manage to hit it a bit high, this is why you have that conversation with your partner and says, hey, this is where I'm going. If I happen to hit it a bit high, get ready, because that's probably coming hot at you. It goes a straight ahead shot for that left side player. I have found myself literally over the last maybe month or so dropping middle. And by middle, basically what you just said, which is right over that middle strap. I've been doing that a lot more than I have maybe in my whole pickleball career, whether I'm on the right or the left side, actually. If I find that I'm dead straight ahead, so I'm typically playing left side and the ball's kind of coming down that center seam, I'm very comfortable just going straight back down that center seam. And maybe it's not the ideal sort of cornhole over that left side player's left foot in that corner, but the net's lower, and I am finding that I'm hitting more consistent thirds by targeting that spot. And that spot for me used to be the devil. Like for the first probably 3 years I played pickleball.
Again, it depends on your skill set. There's some people that are comfortable dropping cross court from the right a little bit further out. I really don't like people to go too far wide, because then you run into the issue of the sideline and the higher part of the net. If I'm on the right side and I'm getting a fifth, if I'm playing a lefty, so the lefty is on the right side and I want to target their backhand, I will pull that drop a little bit closer to the backhand, so a little closer to their right foot. When I'm on the left side, again, I either try to go straight ahead, perhaps to the person directly in front of me, their backhand, so the right side player, their backhand or their left foot. And then if I go cross court, I try to go all the way across court, assuming it's a righty on the left side. So if there's a right-hand player on the left side, I try to loft it to their backhand, which is frequently their weaker wing. So that's that cornhole type shot that you were saying, when you have a little bit of loft, giving yourself some margin. But don't aim it too far wide, because the further out you go, the higher the net is and the closer you are to the sideline. We talked about on putaways to take 10% of the court off on each side. I think it applies to fifths as well, because again, you want to increase your margins. You want to get your opponents to hit the ball from low to high, or just hit the ball, period. We get it over and we give them either a yellow or a green zone shot. We're able to defend and get up.
I was thinking about this actually just before you said it. Pretty interesting that if you, let's say, cut off 5 to 7 feet of the net on each side of the court, I'll bet you could fit most of your drops within that 8-foot span that starts from the dead center and then goes out 4 feet on each side, and is a much more safe version, because even if you're like wide left, if you're left side player, they've gone to your backhand, and I hit a pretty sharp cross court backhand to the left side player's backhand, so backhand to backhand, even at the steepest angle, that ball's still going almost over the center of the net, or a little bit from the center line. It's not going all the way over the wide part where the net is 36 inches.
Exactly. And people sometimes forget that if you're going cross court, it's a diagonal, so you're going at an angle. If you aim more towards the middle, or at least closer to that middle line, the ball's kind of going where you want it to go anyway.
Right.
The traditional think is, I got to get my fifth cross court. And yes, it's a longer distance, so you have a little more time to advance, but it depends on your opponents. It depends on the kind of shot that you have. Say I'm on the right side and one of us hits a high ball, someone is attacking me in the transition zone. I'm just trying to reset in the kitchen. If I think, okay, someone's going to whack it down at my shins, I'm not going to try to go inside out cross court with my backhand to the right side player. Like, I'm just trying to get in the kitchen.
I have this theory, Mircea, that as you progress from 4.0 to 5.0 plus, that spaces that appear on the court become not spaces the higher level you get. So there might be a gap right in the middle of the court, down the center at the 4.0 level.
Yeah.
That I can just rip a ball right down. I kick a field goal. I fire it right between them and it's there. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing against some 5.0 plus players, that gap that looks exactly the same as the 4.0 gap is not actually there. It's a mirage. It looks like it's there.
Yep.
I feel really good about ripping this ball to this space, but that space isn't actually there. So my question to you is, let's say you're playing left side, they put a ball up relatively center, but it's shoulder high for you. So you can do whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. Are you targeting space, or are you targeting a spot?
I'm targeting a spot. I'm generally targeting body most likely, or hopefully a weak spot of my opponent. So again, let's assume that the right side player's backhand is somewhat weaker. If I have a high ball, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It may target the left side player's forehand, because if they're sitting in backhand, that's their chicken wing in that particular spot, or vice, whatever. Like, it's obviously situationally dependent.
Exactly. And that's an excellent point, because that's the correct answer. There are some people that sit very heavy backhand, and so you want to go to their right side most of the time when you're attacking, just because they're holding backhand so much. And when you get to their forehand, there's some people that swing their forehands, so they swing their forehands even when they're being attacked.
Yes.
So I know I'm going to either get an error or get a pop-up with that shot. And the same thing applies with drives. We generally in the show, we've talking about with the fifths that we want to drop them or hit them to a safe spot. Sure, you can drive your fifths, especially if you have a nice, juicy, fluffy ball against higher level players and people with really good hands. You have to remember you're still down in the point. But if you see something, like for example, if I've dropped 3-4 fifths and I look over, I happen to see that my opponent's paddle is heavy backhand, I might drive that one and get a pop-up. So there's no 100% rule, or we talk about how the game is changing. Yes, it's evolving and there's things that are changing. The basics of the game are still the same.
Dollars to donuts, though. That drive that you just hit, that fifth shot drive that's targeted towards a chicken wing that you happen to recognize, man, I'll bet you that's 41% that you're hitting it. You're not ripping it. You're hitting the most compact little swing that has some pace on it. You're probably holding it until the last millisecond, because you don't want them to know you're going to hit a drive.
Yep.
And you're going to just flick it and try to get that ball to hit a weird spot. So the seventh is now the end of the point.
Exactly, because we're still doing combos. So you're never hitting for a winner. You're hitting to set yourself up for a better shot. A good fifth sets you up for better seventh.
You can almost view it as a dead dink. If you happen to get a fifth that they kind of hockey stop and the thing just bounces back into your court without any real direction, it's just a dead shot. If you were all up at the kitchen, you'd probably try to speed that ball up. This is almost like a speed up, but you're a little bit into the transition zone. You're not fully roundhouse swinging a forehand on it.
No, and remember, the larger your backswing and follow through, especially if that's combined with you moving forward as you're hitting the ball, that's going to decrease your control and it's going to increase your error rate, and you're going to hit the ball out. Unless you happen to hit them, a lot of those balls are going to go out.
One thing I think is really great, we all go through our warm-up routines when we get to, or not, if you don't warm your body up, but we're certainly warming our shots up as we play on the court. We start with dinking, and then we maybe do our drops. We move back to the baseline. We hit some drops. And then very often I'll come up and do hands eventually. But one thing I think is a really great warm-up drill for this is as you're on the baseline, if you go, hey man, let me get a few drives here, hit a drive. And then when they respond to that drive, hit a drop. Get used to hitting a drive and then moving up and hitting a drop, and then back up and hit a drive and then hit a drop and hit a drive and hit a drop. That is the most likely scenario you're going to see on the court versus let me hit a bunch of drives, take a couple steps up, hit a bunch of drops, because of that dynamic movement and how important it is to set your feet and get that drop for that fifth. I think it's a really great thing to just integrate into drilling always.
Absolutely. And this came up today. A gentleman from Dallas that played as a sub mainly last year in the National Pickleball League. He entered the draft again and he wanted to get some training and came down from Dallas. So we worked for about an hour and a half today. And in the transition zone, he was moving a little bit through his shots. And then when I discussed about being still, it dramatically improved his consistency. Yet what he was doing, he was hitting the shot. It was going into the kitchen, and then he was waiting, and then he would only advance once he saw that it was 100% likelihood that it had bounced or it had already bounced. So he was missing his opportunity to move up. So once you hit the shot, what I would like people to do is anticipate if you've hit a good shot and move forward. And then you are 1 or 2 feet up closer to where you want to be. So don't just hit the shot, wait until you see it bounce. Use it like a test, like a hypothesis, and especially do this in practice. And this actually came up because he hit a fifth shot and it hit the top of the net and he didn't move at all. And he's like, oh, I thought it was in the net and it almost made it over. And I said, why don't you move up anyway? And he's, what do you mean? I said, listen, it's a win-win. If you hit the shot and it dribbles over, you're up. And if you hit the shot and it doesn't dribble over, you've just taken 5 steps. So you get a little exercise. So the point being that you just hypothesize where your ball is going, and you will learn that you are able to predict where the ball is going better and advance more judiciously and accurately, and practice that. And if you hit a shot and you estimate it's going to bounce or it's going to be at the level of someone's shins or knees and it goes too high, you just register that and you're like, okay, that one was a little too high. Now I know what that looks like, how that feels. Next time, these are all data points that you accumulate, and you will improve your ability to move up expeditiously and cautiously, yet aggressively as well.
If there's something that people take from this episode, it's that the fifth shot should be as close as you can to getting the point to neutral. That's your goal, is just to get to the non-volley zone. So if you hit your third shot drive, just know that the next ball is probably going to be a drop 95% of time somewhere in the court, and you should have some idea of where it's going to go. The drill we talked about in the third shot episode was the 7-11 drill, which is the perfect drill for this. And one thing I love that you added, 7-11, you guys, if you don't know it, one person's at the baseline, the other person's at the net, the non-volley zone. The non-volley zone person feeds the ball cooperatively to that person at the baseline, which would represent the return of serve. They're hitting their third. And now they have to work their way up and play the point out. And if you guys did that regularly, if you one drill that you did once a week as your drill session, man, it would make a huge difference in your pickleball game. And the thing I love that you added, Mircea, was do it from every corner. So play a game straight on, and then one person diagonal, and then the other person diagonal, and switch to each side, because we just talked about how the drops, even though they're diagonal, they're still going over the middle of the net. It's not this huge wide margin, and you should be comfortable dropping from all those different angles.
Absolutely. It's going to improve your game tremendously.
It will, and you combine that with the instigator drill where, and this is a little bit off topic of the fifth, but the instigator drill where somebody can speed up. And man, it gets you to this level of recognition of this ball could hurt me. I was explaining to some beginners today, a little bit off topic. I said, the reason why we're trying to get the ball to drop in the non-volley zone. And then I walked out onto the court. I said, every other part of this court can hurt me. The whole spot can hurt me. This one spot of 140 square feet can't hurt me. This is a spot where if I'm able to get a ball into that spot over there, you got to make a decision and you got to figure out a way to hurt me after that. But literally everywhere else on the court, if I put the ball there, you can hurt me with it. So that's why we want to get it into this one little spot. Because I just don't think people understand enough of the safety and it's the security blanket of the non-volley zone, which is what we're trying to get to on that fifth.
Yep. We love that security blanket. That's the target. That's the target.
All right, guys, go drop some fifths. Please, 402p.com/camp. Please come join us in Fort Lauderdale. We are so excited. It's going to be epic. Since it's the first big one we're doing, we're trying to make this thing like the most epic time ever. So if you come, it's going to be great. And also, thank you to Yobo for sponsoring this episode. Get yourself the Backpack Plus, 402p.com/warmup, 402p.com/warmup. Mircea, you are off to play the APP Fort Lauderdale, I'm sure?
Yes, sir. Saturday and Sunday, mixed, and then with Audra Spielberger, and men's with Jose DeRisi. So looking forward to playing with my regular partners. And then we also have the NPL draft next week, which should be exciting. There's a lot going on with the National Pickleball League, the team league for 50-plus players, which is kicking off soon. The season's starts in May, actually.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we'll have some news. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thanks so much for listening. As always, we'll talk to you soon. Keep on rocking.
Thank you for listening to 4.0 to Pro. For more tips, find us on Instagram at 4.0 to Pro. If you have a pickleball question, submit it at picklehelp.com. Now, get out there and dominate. But don't forget to have fun.